Hi class, my name is Allison and my philosopher is on Thomas Aquinas. Some of you may ask, who's that? Who's Aquinas? Well, Aquinas was an Italian Dominican friar, priest, philosopher, and a theologian. He was known for natural theology, the father of Thomism, synthesizing Aristotle's philosophy with Christian principles, and his work, Summa Theologica. Now, like many philosophers, Aquino has a small, interesting history. Born in Roccasecca, in the Aquino country of the Kingdom of Sicily, now known as the Lazio region of Italy, he was believed to be born in his father's castle. His father, Landulf of Aquino, was a knight. His mother, Theodora, was the Countess of Tino, a family related to Emperor Henry VI, as well as Frederick II, the kings of France, Aragon, and Castile. Upon his birth, a holy hermit foretold his future to his mother in saying that he will enter the order of friars preachers, and so great will be his learning that in his day no one will be found to equal him. Additionally, while his brothers pursued a career in military, Aquinas followed his uncle into the abbacy. At the young age of 5, Aquinas was sent early to start his education with the Benedictine monks of Monte Cassino. However, due to the military conflict, he was later enrolled at the Studium Generale, which is a university in Naples. His time in Naples, he was heavily influenced by John of St. Julian, a Dominican preacher in Naples. Between the years of 1240 and 1243, Aquinas received the habit of the Order of St. Dominic. However, the city wondered why Aquinas, a young nobleman, should be a poor friar. In this point of time, society did not hold friars and priests in high esteem because they were poor. At the young age of 19, Thomas wanted to join the Dominican order. However, due to the not so high representation of priests and friars of society at the time, his mother tried to stop him. The Dominicans moved Thomas from Rome to Paris in order to avoid his mother. However, due to Theodora's orders, his brothers captured him and put him in a prison at the family castle. He was held prisoner for 1 year. According to legend, Aquinas' brothers resorted in hiring a prostitute to seduce Thomas. However, Thomas drove her away by holding a fire iron. He was said that angels later visited him that night and gave him the mystical belt of purity as proof of chastity. From that night, he was given the title the Doctor of Angels. His mother attempted many times for him to change his mind, but she finally gave up in 1244. Later on, Thomas professed vows in the order of friars preachers. At 20, he was under the instruction of Saint Albert the Great in Paris and later in Cologne. At 25 in Cologne, he was ordained to priesthood. He later earned his doctorate in theology in Paris, and later, from 1257 to 1273, he wrote many major works, including Summa Theologica and the religious poetry in praise of the Eucharist. At 1272, he was appointed head of Faculty of Theology at the University of Naples. On March 7, 1274, around the age of 50, he collapsed while traveling and brought the Cistercian monastery of Fossa, and later on died. Around 1323, Pope John and Pope St. Pius proclaimed St. Thomas a doctor of the Church in 1567. From this time, he was later considered the norm of Christian philosophy. Some unusual facts of Thomas Aquinas was that he was called the dumb ox due to his silent personality and large size. Additionally, he stopped writing when he became old because he had a vision in which all he saw was a straw. For this project, I was to read Summa Theologica, in which means theological summary. It was divided into 3 parts. Part 1 deals with God and 119 questions concerning about the existence of nature of God, the creation, angels, the work of 6 days of creation, the essence and nature of man, and divine government. In Part 2, it dealt with man and 303 questions concerning the purpose of man, habits, types of laws, vices and virtues, religious and versus secular life. In Part 3, it dealt with Christ and 90 questions concerning the incarnation, the sacraments, and the resurrections. When reading the first 50 pages of Summa Theologica, I was, unfortunately, in disagreement the whole time. While I have only read the first section, and was a hard read at that, I do not think I would agree with his work in the other parts of the book. A passage I do not agree on is this question that he poses in the book. It states whether sacred doctrine is nobler than other sciences. Objection 1. It seems that sacred doctrine is not nobler than other sciences, for the nobility of a science depends on the certitude it establishes. But other sciences, the principles of which cannot be doubted, seem to be more certain than sacred doctrine, for its principles, namely articles of faith, can be doubted. Therefore, other sciences seem to be nobler. Objection 2. Further, it is a sign of a lower science to depend on a higher, as music depends on arithmetic. But sacred doctrine does in a sense depend on philosophical sciences, for Jerome observes in Epistles to Magnus that the ancient doctors so enriched in their books with the ideas and phrases of the philosopher that thou knowest not what more to admire in them, their profane erudition or their scriptural learning. Therefore, sacred doctrine is inferior to other sciences. On the contrary, other sciences are called the handmaidens of this one. Wisdom sent her maids to invite to the tower. Aquinas answers, since this science is partly speculative and partly practical, it transcends all others speculative and practical. Now one speculative science is said to be nobler than another, either by reason of its greater certitude or by reason of the higher worth of its subject matter. In both these respects, this science surpasses other speculative science in point of greater certitude, because other sciences derive their certitudes from the natural light of human reason, which can err, whereas this derives from the certitude from the light of divine knowledge, which cannot be misled. In point of the higher worth of subject matter, because this science treats chiefly of those things by which their sublimity transcends human reason, while other sciences consider only these things which are within one's grasp. Of the practical sciences, that one is nobler is which ordained to a further purpose, such as political science is nobler than military science, for the good of the army is directed to the good of the state. But the purpose of this science, in so far it is practical, is eternal bliss, to which an ultimate end the purpose of every practical science are directed. Hence is clear from every standpoint is nobler than other sciences. Aside from this quote, Summa Theologica is best known for the famous third article, which asks whether God exists. Here, Thomas offers the 5 ways that God is real. First, he points out that some things in the world were put in motion. Whatever is in motion is put into motion by another object in motion. Therefore, we must conclude that the first unmoved object was God. Second, we observe everything to have an efficient cause and that nothing is or can be the cause of itself. However, it is impossible for the causes to go back to infinity because every cause is dependent on a previous cause. Therefore, there must be a first efficient cause, which is God. Third, we observe in nature things that are possible and not to be as they come into existence and pass out of existence. Such things could not always exist, though, because something could possibly not exist at some time, does not exist at some time. Thus, if it is possible for everything not to exist, then at some time nothing did exist. But if nothing ever existed, then nothing would exist now, since everything exists requires an existence that something that already existed. Yet it is absurd to claim that nothing exists even now. Therefore, not all beings are merely possible, but there must be something that existence of which is necessary. Now, every necessary thing has its necessity caused by something else, or it does not. Since it is impossible for there to exist an infinite series of causes of necessary things, we must conclude that there is something necessary in itself. This is called God. Fourth, being in this world have characteristics to a certain degree. Such are measured until there is a maximum. The maximum is God. Fifth, we observe in nature that inanimate and non-intelligent objects act towards the best possible purpose, even though objects are not aware of doing so. Objects don't achieve such purpose without a plan. There must be an intelligent being that is reaching them. This is God.